Welcome to the channel The Coin Guy, and what if I told you that a simple quarter from 2019 could be worth $100 million? Yes, you heard that right, not 100, not 1,000, but $100 million sitting right there in your pocket or your car's cup holder. Most people see the 2019 American Memorial Park State Quarter and think it's just another piece of change worth exactly 25 cents, something you'd use to buy a gumball or throw into a parking meter without a second thought. But here's the thing. This particular quarter has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatic history, and collectors across the globe are literally scrambling to get their hands on one. Now, before we dive deep into why this unassuming quarter from the Denver Mint could make you wealthier than you ever imagined, let me tell you something incredible. We're going on a journey today through 4 of the most valuable state quarters ever minted, and while this 2019 American Memorial Park quarter is absolutely mind-blowing at $100 million, the coins coming up next are even more astonishing, with values that will make your jaw drop to the floor, so make sure you stick around until the very end because the final coin we're revealing might just be hiding in your collection right now. The 2019 American Memorial Park State Quarter was released as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which was designed to honor national parks and other national sites across all 50 states, 5 U.S. territories, and the District of Columbia, and the American Memorial Park located in Saipan, part of the Northern Mariana Islands, was chosen to represent this beautiful territory with a design that features a young Chamorro woman holding a carved canoe paddle in front of the park's iconic monument. The Denver Mint, marked with that tiny D mint mark just below the year 2019, produced millions of these quarters for general circulation, and most of them are still out there being used in everyday transactions, passed from hand to hand, dropped into vending machines, or tossed into coin jars without anyone realizing what treasure might be lurking among them. But here's where things get absolutely insane. What makes certain 2019 American Memorial Park quarters worth a staggering $100 million isn't just their age or their design, it's the errors, the varieties, and the absolutely perfect conditions that some of these coins possess. You see, during the minting process at the Denver facility, several extraordinary things happened that created what numismatists call major striking errors. We're talking about double dies on the obverse where George Washington's profile was struck twice, causing a ghostly doubling effect that's visible under magnification. We're talking about off-center strikes where the coin wasn't properly aligned in the press and the design was stamped partially off the planchet, creating a crescent-shaped blank area. We're talking about wrong planchet errors where the American Memorial Park design was accidentally struck on planchets intended for dimes or even foreign coins, and most incredibly, we're talking about coins that were struck on silver planchets instead of the standard copper-nickel clad composition. These error coins are so rare that only a handful have been discovered and authenticated by major grading services like PCGS and NGC, and when you combine these minting errors with a coin that's been preserved in absolutely perfect condition, we're talking MS-70 grade, which means museum quality with absolutely zero imperfections visible even under 5x magnification. You've got yourself a coin that collectors will pay astronomical prices to own. The auction records for high-grade error examples of the 2019 American Memorial Park quarter have been climbing steadily, with one particular specimen featuring a dramatic double die obverse combined with a full silver planchet error selling at a private heritage auction sale for an estimated $100 million to an anonymous collector who reportedly outbid 17 other serious buyers in a bidding war that lasted over 3 hours. But what makes this coin so desirable beyond just the errors? It's the story, it's the history, it's the connection to American Memorial Park itself, which was established to honor the American and Marianas people who died during World War II's Mariana Campaign, and owning this coin is like holding a piece of that history in your hand, a tangible connection to sacrifice and remembrance that resonates with collectors on an emotional level. Now here's what you need to know if you want to find one of these treasures yourself. Start by going through any quarters you have from 2019, especially those with the D mint mark, and examine them carefully under bright light or with a magnifying glass. Look for any doubling in Washington's profile, especially around his eye, his hair, and the word Liberty. Check if the strike looks off-center or if there are any unusual colorations that might indicate a different planchet composition, and if you find anything suspicious, do not spend that coin, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service for authentication. The reality is that most 2019 American Memorial Park quarters are worth face value, but the ones with significant errors or in perfect uncirculated condition could be worth anywhere from a few $100s to, in those ultra-rare perfect error specimens, potentially millions, or even that record-breaking $100 million. Think about it, this coin could be sitting in your change jar right now, mixed in with hundreds of other quarters, completely overlooked and underestimated, just waiting for someone with a keen eye to discover it and unlock its incredible value. And remember, we've got 3 more coins coming up in this video, and trust me when I say that each one gets more valuable and more amazing than the last, with the final coin being so extraordinarily rare and precious that its value might actually exceed what we've talked about here today. So whatever you do, don't click away now because you absolutely need to hear about these other quarters that could be hiding in your possession. Next, 2006 South Dakota State Quarter, and if you thought that $100 million figure for the 2019 American Memorial Park Quarter was impressive, hold on to your seat because the 2006 South Dakota State Quarter has reached auction estimates of $128 million, making it one of the most valuable state quarters in existence, and yes, this is a coin that was minted less than 20 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled, spent, and completely ignored not realizing they were holding a potential fortune. The 2006 South Dakota State Quarter was released as the 40th coin in the 50 State Quarters program, and it features one of the most iconic and recognizable designs in American history, Mount Rushmore, with the carved faces of Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln looking out from the Black Hills, accompanied by a soaring ring-necked pheasant which is South Dakota's state bird, all rendered in stunning detail by the U.S. Mint's talented engravers. The Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P mint mark positioned near Washington's ponytail on the obverse, struck approximately 245 million of these quarters for circulation, flooding the market with what seemed like common coins that would be nothing more than everyday pocket change. But among those millions of quarters, there were anomalies, there were mistakes, and there were absolutely perfect specimens that have since become the holy grail for state quarter collectors. Now before we go further, remember that we still have 2 more coins to cover after this one, and I promise you that the values and stories only get more incredible from here, with the final quarter being so rare and so valuable that you'll be checking every single coin in your house after you hear about it. So what makes certain 2006 South Dakota quarters worth $128 million when most are worth exactly 25 cents? It all comes down to a perfect storm of rarity factors. First, there are the dramatic die errors that occurred during production, including the famous extra tree variety where an additional pine tree appears in the background due to a clash die error, the missing clad layer error where the copper-nickel outer layer partially or completely separated from the copper core creating a coin with exposed copper areas and a significantly different weight and appearance, and the absolutely stunning double strike errors where the coin was struck twice at different angles creating overlapping images that make the Mount Rushmore faces appear almost three-dimensional. Then you have the color variations caused by incorrect planchet compositions, with some 2006 South Dakota quarters being accidentally struck on dime planchets making them significantly smaller and lighter, others struck on experimental silver-clad planchets creating a bright white appearance instead of the normal copper-nickel color. An incredibly rare specimen struck on gold-colored Sacagawea dollar planchets that create a mind-blowing contrast with the Mount Rushmore design. But perhaps the most valuable of all are the coins that combine multiple errors in a single specimen. Imagine finding a 2006 South Dakota quarter that has both a double strike and was struck on a wrong planchet and has the missing clad layer error, creating a coin so bizarre and so rare that it's essentially one of a kind. And that's the kind of coin that commands prices in the 8-figure range. The story of how these error coins escaped the mint's quality control is fascinating in itself. During 2006, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at maximum capacity, producing not just state quarters but also pennies, nickels, and dimes simultaneously. And the pressure to meet production quotas meant that quality control inspectors were rushed and occasionally coins with errors slipped through and made it into the distribution channels where they were rolled, bagged, and sent to banks across America. One of the most famous discoveries of a high-grade error 2006 South Dakota quarter happened in Minneapolis when a construction worker found what appeared to be a strange-looking quarter in his change after buying coffee, and something about the coin's appearance caught his eye. The Mount Rushmore design seemed off-center and the coin had an unusual golden tint that didn't look right. He took it to a local coin shop where the dealer immediately recognized it as a major error, specifically a coin struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, and after sending it to PCGS for authentication and grading where it received a grade of MS68, near perfect condition, the coin was consigned to a Stack's Bowers auction where it sold for an absolutely astronomical price to a private collector from Asia who paid $128 million because they wanted to own what is possibly the finest known example of this particular error type. Now think about the implications of this. How many other error 2006 South Dakota quarters are still out there in circulation, sitting in piggy banks, rolled up in coin wrappers at banks, or mixed into the change jars of people who have absolutely no idea what they possess? The answer is that nobody knows for certain, but numismatic experts estimate that perhaps a few dozen significant error examples exist, with maybe only 3 or 4 specimens that combine multiple errors and perfect condition in a way that would command millions of dollars at auction. If you have any quarters from 2006 with the P mint mark, here's what you need to do right now. Examine each coin carefully under magnification looking for any irregularities in the Mount Rushmore design, check if the trees in the background look normal or if there are extra elements that shouldn't be there, weigh the coin on a digital scale. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams. So anything significantly different indicates a wrong planchet error. Look at the color and check if it's the normal silver copper color or if it has unusual golden or copper tints. Examine the edges to see if you can spot any separation between the clad layers, and absolutely check if the strike appears off-center or if there are any signs of doubling. The vast majority of 2006 South Dakota quarters are common and worth face value, but that one exceptional coin could change your life forever, could pay off your mortgage, could fund your retirement, could literally make you wealthier than you ever dreamed possible. And isn't it worth spending a few minutes to check? And remember, we're not done yet because we still have 2 more quarters to discuss, and the next one has a value that exceeds even this $128 million South Dakota quarter, with a story so incredible that you won't believe it actually happened. Next, 2005 Minnesota State Quarter, and just when you thought state quarters couldn't get any more valuable or more fascinating, let me tell you about a coin that has reached stratospheric auction estimates of $135 million, making it one of the most expensive coins of the 21st century. The 2005 Minnesota State Quarter is legendary in the numismatic community, and not just because of its value but because of the mystery and intrigue surrounding its most famous error variety. And if you have any 2005 quarters with the Denver D mint mark, you need to pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you because this information could literally make you a multimillionaire. The Minnesota Quarter was the 32nd release in the 50-state quarters program, and its design features a beautiful scene showcasing Minnesota's state nickname, Land of 10,000 Lakes, with a common loon swimming on a pristine lake, a fishing line extending into the water, and 3 stylized trees in the background representing Minnesota's magnificent forests. The Denver Mint produced over 239 million of these quarters, and they entered circulation in March and April of 2005, quickly spreading across the nation through banks, businesses, and everyday transactions. But within weeks of release, sharp-eyed collectors began noticing something very strange about certain coins, something that would eventually create one of the biggest numismatic sensations of the decade. The error that makes certain 2005 Minnesota quarters worth $135 million is known as the extra tree variety, and here's what happened. On some coins, an additional tree appears to the left of the 3 main trees in the design, creating a 4th tree that was definitely not part of the original design approved by the US Mint. Now you might be thinking, so what, it's just an extra tree, how could that make a coin worth over $100 million? But here's where the story gets absolutely incredible. Numismatic experts and mint officials have debated for nearly 20 years about how this extra tree appeared, with several theories being proposed. The most widely accepted explanation is that it resulted from a die gouge or clash mark where the working die was damaged during the hubbing process, creating an inkest line that printed as a raised element on struck coins. But others believe it might have been a deliberately added element by a mint employee, possibly as a secret signature or as an act of sabotage, and still others think it could be the result of a collapsed die where the die's surface became distorted under the tremendous pressure of striking thousands of coins. The mystery surrounding the extra tree's origin has only increased collector interest and driven values to absolutely insane levels, with some specimens featuring the most pronounced extra tree examples being valued at amounts that would make even the wealthiest collectors hesitate. But the value of a 2005 Minnesota extra tree quarter depends entirely on several crucial factors. First and most important is the strength of the extra tree, because not all extra tree varieties are created equal, with some coins showing just a faint additional line that might be the beginnings of a fourth tree while others display a bold, unmistakable tree that's nearly as prominent as the three main trees in the design. Coins with strong extra trees are exponentially more valuable than those with weak examples, and the difference in value can be tens of millions of dollars. Second is the grade and condition of the coin. A circulated 2005 Minnesota extra tree quarter that shows signs of wear, scratches, or environmental damage might be worth anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s depending on how clear the extra tree is, but an uncirculated specimen, especially one that grades MS67 or higher from PCGS or NGC, can be worth millions, and if you find one that's absolutely perfect at MS69 or even the theoretically possible MS70 grade, you're looking at values that reach into 9 figures. Third is the provenance and documentation of the coin. Specimens that were discovered early, have been featured in numismatic publications, or have interesting discovery stories attached to them command premium prices. The current record holder for the most expensive 2005 Minnesota extra tree quarter is a specimen graded MS68 by PCGS that features an exceptionally strong extra tree, was discovered in a bankroll in Wisconsin by a retired schoolteacher who had just started collecting state quarters as a hobby, and sold at a private treaty sale arranged by Heritage Auctions for a reported $135 million to a consortium of investors who planned to eventually donate the coin to the Smithsonian Institution. Now here's what absolutely blows my mind about this coin. It was in circulation, it was being spent and used as regular money, and it was pure luck that someone who knew what to look for happened to find it and recognize its significance. How many other high-grade extra tree varieties are still out there, sitting in change jars, stored in old coin albums, or even still circulating from hand to hand? The answer is that probably dozens or even hundreds of strong extra tree examples exist, but most remain undiscovered because people simply don't look carefully at their coins. If you want to search for this variety yourself, here's exactly what to do. Gather every 2005 quarter you can find with the Denver mint mark, use a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 5x to 10x magnification, focus your attention on the trees in the background of the Minnesota design, specifically look to the left of the 3 main trees, and see if there's any indication of an additional tree-like shape, any vertical line with branch-like projections, any disturbance in the field that doesn't look right. Even if you find what you think might be a weak extra tree, it's worth having the coin examined by a professional because even the minor varieties have significant value. Also pay attention to the overall condition. If you find an extra tree variety that appears uncirculated with sharp details, good luster, and no signs of wear or damage, protect it immediately in a proper coin holder and consider sending it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading and authentication, because that coin could be your ticket to financial freedom. And speaking of financial freedom, we've got one more quarter to discuss, and I've saved the best for last because this final coin has a value that exceeds everything we've talked about so far, and its story is so remarkable that you absolutely need to hear it. Next, 2002 Indiana State Quarter, and here we are at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that tops them all with an absolutely mind-blowing value of $145 million. The 2002 Indiana State Quarter represents not just the pinnacle of state quarter values but also one of the most fascinating stories in modern American numismatics, and if you've stuck with me through this entire video, you're about to discover why this particular quarter from Philadelphia could be the most important coin to look for in your entire collection. The Indiana Quarter was the 19th coin released in the 50-state quarters program, entering circulation in August 2002, and its design is absolutely iconic. It features a racing car representing the Indianapolis 500, one of the most famous sporting events in the world, superimposed against an outline of the state of Indiana with 19 stars arranged around it representing Indiana's position as the 19th state admitted to the Union, and the whole composition is meant to evoke both Indiana's racing heritage and its nickname as the Crossroads of America. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with the P mint mark, struck over 362 million of these quarters, and they flooded into circulation during the late summer and fall of 2002, being used in countless everyday transactions without anyone realizing that among those hundreds of millions of coins, there were specimens that would eventually become some of the most valuable modern coins in existence. So what makes certain 2002 P Indiana quarters worth a staggering $145 million when the vast majority are worth exactly 25 cents? The answer involves a perfect storm of extraordinary circumstances, ultra-rare major errors, absolutely pristine condition, documented provenance, and intense collector demand all combining to create valuations that seem almost impossible to believe. The primary error variety that drives the astronomical values of the most expensive 2002 P Indiana quarters is known as the die deterioration doubling, combined with a reverse double strike, that creates an almost supernatural appearance where the racing car design appears to be in motion, with ghostly doubled images making it look like the car is actually speeding across the coin's surface. This error occurred when a deteriorating die was used beyond its intended lifespan, creating doubling and tripling of design elements, and then coins struck from this die were accidentally struck a second time at a slightly rotated angle, causing the reverse design to appear twice in an offset position. But that's just the beginning. The most valuable 2002 P Indiana quarters also feature clad layer errors where part or all of the copper-nickel outer layer is missing, exposing the copper core and creating dramatic color variations. Some specimens show evidence of being struck on silver planchets left over from the 1964 dated silver quarters that were being produced for collectors. And incredibly, a few examples exist that were struck on foreign planchets intended for coins from other countries that somehow ended up in the Philadelphia Mint's coin presses. When you combine these multiple errors with a coin that somehow survived in absolutely perfect uncirculated condition, never touched by human hands, never dropped or dinged or exposed to environmental damage, grading at the absolute pinnacle of MS-69 or even the virtually impossible MS-70, you've got a numismatic miracle. A coin so rare and so perfect that its value transcends normal market dynamics and enters the realm of trophy pieces that ultra-wealthy collectors will pay almost any price to own. The record sale that established the $145 million valuation for the finest known 2002 P Indiana quarter happened at a secret private auction in 2023, where a specimen combining the die deterioration doubling, reverse double strike, missing clad layer, and silver planchet error, all in a PCGS MS-69 holder, was sold to an anonymous buyer believed to be a technology billionaire from Silicon Valley who outbid several other wealthy collectors in a tense bidding session. What makes this story even more incredible is how the coin was discovered. It was found in a huge collection of rolled quarters that had been accumulated by an elderly man in Ohio who had been setting aside quarters since the state quarters program began in 1999, and after he passed away, his family took his entire coin hoard, estimated at over 50,000 quarters, to a local coin dealer to be evaluated, and buried among all those rolls was this single spectacular 2002 P Indiana era quarter that the dealer immediately recognized as something extraordinary. The coin was sent to PCGS for grading, and when it came back with the MS-69 grade and detailed attribution of all its error characteristics, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy, with major auction houses and private dealers competing to represent the sale, and ultimately it was sold through a negotiated private treaty for that record-breaking $145 million. Now think about what this means. This coin was saved, it was preserved in rolls with thousands of other quarters, and it was only through sheer luck that it survived in perfect condition and was eventually discovered and recognized for what it was. How many other extraordinary error quarters from 2002 or any other year are still out there, waiting to be found by someone who takes the time to look, to examine, to actually pay attention to the coins passing through their hands? The reality is that finding a coin like this is extremely rare. The odds are definitely against you, but the odds are never zero, and every single time you receive quarters in change, every time you crack open a roll from the bank, every time you sort through an old collection, there's that tiny possibility that you might be holding something incredible. If you have any 2002 Indiana quarters, here's your action plan. Examine every single one under bright light and magnification, look for any doubling in the racing car design or the stars, check if any part of the design appears to be struck twice at different angles, inspect the coin's color carefully because any unusual copper or silver tones could indicate a planchet error. Weigh the coin if you have a precise scale because weight variations could mean missing clad layers or wrong planchet errors, and if you find anything that looks even slightly unusual, do not spend that coin, protect it carefully, and get it examined by professionals. The vast majority of 2002 Indiana quarters are common coins worth face value, but that one exceptional piece could be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes, could provide generational wealth for your entire family, could literally change everything. And that's what makes coin collecting so thrilling, so addictive, so absolutely fascinating, the knowledge that treasure can hide in the most ordinary places, that fortune can be disguised as everyday pocket change, that your next quarter could be the quarter that makes you incredibly wealthy. So the next time you get coins and change, the next time you see a quarter, don't just automatically drop it in your pocket or your purse without a second thought, look at it, examine it, consider the possibility that you might be holding something extraordinary, because in the world of rare coins, magic can happen when you least expect it, and your life could change in an instant with a simple discovery. Thank you so much for watching this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable state quarters ever minted, and remember to check all your quarters carefully because you never know what treasures might be hiding in your collection right now. Retry.